Good evening. Today we continue learning Biblical Hebrew. We are in chapter 8 of the first Hebrew primer, page 59, and we're doing oral review of everything we learned so far. Number 1, Ani yashavti, I sat or dwelt. Yashavti baderech mimoav el Mitzrayim, I sat on the way from Moab to Egypt. Number 2, Ata achalta, you ate. Achalta hayom lifnei hamelech, you ate today before the king. Number 3, At lakachat, you took. Lakachat banim min ha'avot, you took sons from the fathers. Number 4, Hu amar, he said. Hu amar, lo zacharti na'ara mirushalayim, he said, I did not remember a young woman from Jerusalem. Number 5, He shalha, she sent. He lo shalha lechem el habayit, she did not send bread to the house. Number 6, oral review on page 59, the first Hebrew primer. Anachnu avarnu, we passed over. Avarnu min ha'ir el heharim, we passed from the city to the mountains. Number 7 of chapter 8. Atem amadtem, you plural stood. Amadtem al haaretz, you stood on the ground. Number 8. Hema lakhu, they took. Hema lakhu behemot min ha'avot v'lo amru davar, they took animals from the fathers and they did not say anything. They did not say a word. Number 9. Amadta bahar, you stood on the mountain. Amadta bahar v'sham zacharta isha, you masculine stood on the mountain and there you remembered a woman. Number 10. Hu shamar behema v'hu achal lechem, he guarded an animal and he ate bread. Shamarnu behema v'lechem achalnu, we guarded an animal and we ate bread. Number 11. Mimitzrayim avra ul Moav halacha, from Egypt she passed and she went to Moab. Mimitzrayim avru ul Moav halchu, they passed from Egypt and they went to Moab. We finish oral review and now we turn to page 60 for new vocabulary of chapter 8. The right column, asher. Asher is an important word to know because it has multiple translation. Asher means that, or which, or who, or where. Next, ben, between or among. And the verb hey yud hey, meaning be. Haya means he was. Haya. Ma, what, or how, as a exclamation. Now, you see ma can be either with a patah underneath, ma, or with a kamatz, ma, or with a segol, me. And we'll see when these are used. A noun, mayim, water. And mayim in Hebrew is always plural. You cannot say water in singular in Hebrew, and therefore verbs that are and adjective verbs and adjectives used with water will be plural as well. And the word mayim is masculine. Milhama, war, and milhamot is plural for wars or battle. Milhama, war or battle. Milhamot, wars or battles, and that's a feminine word. Next word, mishpat, judgment, law, or justice. And the plural for laws is mishpatim, and that's a masculine word. Now the left column, ad, until, or as far as, can be in time or in space. Im, with. Another verb, ein sin hey, to do or to make. Asa means he did or he made. Kol, voice of a human being, or a sound. Kol, masculine word. Next verb, resh aleph hey, to see. Ra'a means he saw. Next word, sha'ar means gate. She'arim are gates. That's a masculine word. And the word sadeh, a field, is also masculine, even though its plural sadot sounds like feminine, but it is a masculine word. Sadeh, sadot. Now, the word ma has three different spellings. There is no difference in the meaning of the forms ma, ma, and me. The word mayim is usually a collective noun, which means that it has both singular and plural meanings in one form. Whenever you see a noun that has only one form, it is probably a collective noun. Okay. Now, as the title of this chapter states, the direct object, now we learn what is a direct object. Very simple Hebrew sentences can be made using only a noun and a verb. One noun and a verb, two word sentences. Hamelech zachar, the king remembered. Simple sentences can also be made using only a verb form. One word sentence. Shamarti, I guarded. Amadta, you stood. Simple sentences can be made more complex by adding an object indicating whom the king remembered and what I guarded. Hamelech zachar ben, the king remembered a son. Or shamarti derech, I guarded a road. In the sentences above, the words ben and derech are called direct objects. Something is being done to them. The direct object of a sentence is the thing or person upon which the verb acts. The direct object of a sentence answers the question what or whom. Now we turn to page 61. Direct object. And now we learn about definite and indefinite nouns. As you remember, a noun can be made definite by adding a hey to the beginning of the word. Proper nouns, names of people and places, are definite by nature and they don't need hey at the beginning. For example, starting from right to left, ish is a man, ha-ish is the man, and if you have a specific man in mind, for example, David, it is also a definite noun. Next example, ir, a city, that is indefinite, we don't know which city. Ha'ir, the city, definite city. And an example of a definite city is Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. One more example, bat, a daughter, we don't know which daughter. Ha-bat, the daughter, we know exactly which daughter, definite. And an example of a definite lady is Ruth. Now we combine the two ideas, definite and indefinite nouns and direct object. Definite and indefinite direct objects. The direct object of a sentence can be either definite or an indefinite noun. For example, in English, the king remembered a son, as opposed to the king remembered the son. Or you sent bread to Jerusalem, as opposed to you sent the bread to Jerusalem. And one more example, he guarded Jerusalem, and they remembered Abraham. Both are definite direct objects because they're names of places or names of people. So now we learn that in Hebrew, not only you add the article prefix hey, but you also have to add a word et. In Hebrew, when the direct object is a definite noun, it is usually preceded by the word et. The word et has no translation in English. In English, it's not used. It is simply used to mark direct objects when they are definite. So when you have a direct object, an action is being done on the object, and it is definite, you put et. Et ha. That's the usual form. Et ha. The word et is usually spelled with a segol, three dots, but sometimes it's spelled with 2 dots, tsere. We will use the more common spelling et with a segol. The word et helps you find the definite direct object of a Hebrew sentence. So it will help you to identify who is doing the action and who the action is being done to. When the direct object is not definite, the word et is not included. So now some examples. Hamelech zachar ben. The king remembered a son. That's indefinite. Hamelech zachar et haben. The king remembered the son. Because the son is definite, you put et in front. Hamelech zachar et haben. The example in Torah is right there in the first sentence. Bereshit bara Elokim. At the beginning God created. What did God create? He did action on something. Et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. He created the heaven and the earth. So the word et is used twice in the first sentence of the Torah, because an action was being done on a definite object. Another example, Shalachta lechem lirushalayim. You sent bread to Jerusalem. Shalachta et halechem lirushalayim. You sent the bread to Jerusalem. Definite. We know exactly which bread you sent. Et halechem. And the third example, Hu shamar et Yerushalayim. He guarded Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the name of the city, which is definite, and therefore you add the word et. Here you're not going to have ha, because Yerushalayim doesn't need ha prefix. Hu shamar et Yerushalayim. Hem zachru et Avraham. They remembered Abraham. And again, because Abraham is the name of a person, it's a definite object, definite direct object. Therefore, you add the word et. Hem zachru et Avraham. Now we turn to page 62. The word et and Hebrew sentences. If a sentence has more than one definite object, direct object, the word et precedes each one. Just like we said, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, the heaven and the earth. Et is used twice in front of each direct definite object. For example, Avraham shalach et ha'ish ve'et ha'isha ve'et hanar le'ir. Abraham sent the man and the woman and the young man to the city. The word et here is used 3 times. Since the words in Hebrew sentences can appear in any order, the word et is very helpful. It helps to make complicated sentences easier to understand and translate. For example, if you would say ha'av shamar hanar, you would not know who guarded whom, because words are interchangeable in the Hebrew sentence. Was it the young man that guarded the father, or the father guarded the young man? But by adding the word et, you know who did the action to whom. Ha'av shamar et ha'na'ar means the action was done to na'ar. The father guarded the young man. And you can just switch it around. Et ha'na'ar shamar ha'av, which means without the word et, you wouldn't know. It would say hanar shamar ha'av, and you don't know who guarded whom. Et hanar shamar ha'av or hanar shamar et ha'av. Depending where you put et, it will tell you what the direct object is. Now, David zachar et Avraham. David remembered Abraham. And you can say it differently. Et Avraham zachar David. David remembered Avraham. In English, it would be the same translation. In Hebrew, there is an emphasis. Whether David is first, so the emphasis is on David. David remembered Avraham. Or the emphasis is on Avraham. Abraham was remembered by David, not someone else. Okay, so it does have a slight difference in translation in Hebrew. Now, we practice with the verb haya, asa, and ra'a in the perfect tense, past tense. All verbs have the same endings in the perfect tense. However, when the 5 guttural letters are part of the verb root, various changes happen. So, for example, in this case, the word haya has a hey, the word asa has an ayin, and the word ra'a also has aleph and hey. In this chapter, we're introducing 3 verbs that all end in hey: ra'a, asa, and haya. All end with hey, and therefore there will be slight differences. Compare the perfect tense forms of haya with the perfect tense forms of the regular word shamar, and memorize the perfect tense forms of haya because it is unusual. Now let's compare. Shamarti, I guarded. Hayiti. Instead of hayati, you say hayiti. Shamarta, you guarded, masculine. And instead of hayata, you say hayita. So the haya, the ya changes to yi. Shamarti hayiti. Shamarta hayita. Shamart hayit. Shamar haya. That's similar. Shamra haita. That's similar as well. Shamarnu, here changes. Hayinu. Shemartem heyitem. Very different. Shemartem heyitem. Shemarten heyiten and shamru hayu. That's similar. The verbs asa and ra'a are conjugated very much like haya. For the exact spelling of the verb, see page 373. So ra'iti, ra'ita, ra'it, ra'a, ra'ata, ra'inu, re'item, re'iten, ra'u. And the word asa, asiti, asita, asit, asa, asata, asinu, asitem, and asiten, and asu. Okay, now we turn to page 63. Uses of et and et asher and ad asher. Et is the regular direct definite object. Et asher, that which, also direct definite, but that is added. And ad asher, until that. Okay, the verb haya and the word et. The verb haya, be, to be or was, does not take a direct object. That's a unique thing about the verb haya, was. Therefore, it does not take the direct object marker et, because you cannot cause being onto someone. We're not God. You can do something on a created being, but you cannot cause the being to happen. And that makes sense logically. For example, Hu ra'a et ha'ish. He saw the man. So et is added because you can see the man. You can do the action on the man. See him. However, Hu haya ha'ish. He was the man. Cannot say he caused the man to be. Rather, he was the man. Hu haya ha'ish. Another example, Hamelech zachar et Avraham. The king remembered Abraham. Et is added. Hamelech haya Avraham. The king was Avraham. Here it doesn't make sense logically to add the word et. Okay, now et asher. The direct object marker et is sometimes followed by the word asher to mean that which or what. Zacharti et asher asiti. I remembered what I did, or I remembered that which I did. So the word et asher is translated as that which or what. Next is the use of ad asher. The phrase ad asher is an idiom meaning until. Until that time that something happened. For example, halachti ad asher ra'iti et ha'ish. I walked until I saw the man. Now, there was and there were in Hebrew. The verb haya is used very much like the English verb be. For example, ha'ish haya al hahar. The man was on the mountain. Haya was. Hayu ha'anashim avadim. the people were slaves. The third person forms haya, haita, and hayu may also be translated there was or there were. Haya ish ba'ir, a man was in a city. Hayu anashim ba'ir, people were in the city, or there were people in the city. And the word lo can be added to the above sentences to make them negative. Ish lo haya ba'ir, a man was not in a city, or there was not a man in a city. Page 64. The use of ben, between or among. The preposition ben can mean either between or among. When the word ben is used in pairs, it means between. Between this and that. Hamelech halach ben hanashim. The king went. Nashim is one group, therefore ben means among. Hamelech halach ben hanashim. Between, when you say between, you have to mention two things, not one group. Hamelech halach ben hanashim uven habanim. The king went between the women and the children. Ha'ish amad ben isha uven habehemot. The man stood between a woman and the cattle. Okay. Now, how to translate Hebrew sentences. Good Hebrew is not necessarily good English, which means you cannot translate word for word, you cannot translate literally. And a word for word translation will probably not sound natural to you. In order to make a translation sound better, it will sometimes be necessary to add, remove, or change the order of the words. For example, Ha'ish amad ben heharim uven ha'ir. The man stood between the mountains and between the city. In Hebrew, the word ben is used twice if it's between. But in English, we don't say between twice. Better English is the man stood between the mountains and the city. But in Hebrew, you have to say the word ben for each word. Next example, halachti el habayit asher yashavti sham. I walked to the house where I resided there. So the word sham, there, in Hebrew is necessary. In English it seems out of place. A better English would be I walked to the house where I resided. Okay, and one more example. Lo hayu nashim basadeh. No were women in the field. That's word for word. But the better English would be there were no women in the field. So the sentence structure, the order of words in a sentence is different in English and in Hebrew. Okay. Now, let's do exercises. On the bottom of page 64, exercise 1. Identify each of the following nouns as definite or indefinite and translate. Number 1, kol. Voice or sound. And that is indefinite. Hakol is the voice, the sound, which is definite. Hamilhama, the war, definite. Mishpat, a law, indefinite. Ha-she'arim, the gates, for sure definite. Sadeh, a field, indefinite. Maim, water. indefinite. Hamaim, the water, or the waters, definite. Sha'ar, a gate. Hasadot, the fields. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, is definite. Heharim, the mountains, definite. Mitzrayim, Egypt, definite. A nation, indefinite. Davar, a word or a thing. Habehemot, the animals, definite. Eretz, a land, indefinite. Ha'ir, the city, definite. Ruth, definite. Hamishpacha, the family, definite. Hadavar, the word. Isha, a woman, indefinite. David, definite. Moav, the name of the country, definite. Now we turn to page 65. Exercise 2. Read and translate the following sentences. Notice the use of the word et. Ha'av avar sadeh. The father passed a field. Ha'av avar et sadeh. The father passed the field. Number 3. Ha'anashim shamru eretz. The man guarded a land. Ha'anashim shamru et ha'aretz. The man guarded the land. Number 5. Ha'anashim shamru et Moav. The man guarded Moav. And Moav is definite. Number 6. Achalta lechem. You ate bread. Number 7. Achalta et halechem. You ate the bread. Number 8. Isha zacharnu. We remembered a woman. Zacharnu et hasadeh. We remembered the field. Number 10. Et Sarah vet Ruth zacharnu. We remembered Sarah and Ruth. 11. Achim shalachti. I sent brothers. Et ha'achim shalachti. I sent the brothers. Exercise 3. Read the following sentences aloud, adding et where necessary, and translate. Lekachtem mayim min habayit. You, plural, took water from the house. Mayim is indefinite. If it would be hamayim, then it would be definite. So therefore we don't add et. Lekachtem mayim min habayit. Ha'avadim shalhu et habehemot el hasadeh. The servants sent the animals to the field. The animals is definite, therefore we add et. Number 3. Shama ha'av et hakol bahar. The father heard the voice on the mountain. Number 4. Et Avraham ve'et ha'isha zachru hanearim. Both Avraham and the woman are definite, and therefore you add et in front of each one. Number 5. Achal ben lechem v'hu amad v'hu alach. A son ate bread and he stood and he walked. Lechem, bread, is indefinite, therefore it doesn't require et. Number 6. Avarno et hashe'arim ve'et haderachim. We passed the gates and the roads. Number 7. Heitem ha'anashim asher yashvu ben hasadot. This is a trick one, because the word haya cannot be used with et. You cannot cause being on someone, you can be someone. Heitem ha'anashim. The men were asher yashvu ben hasadot. You were the man who sat among fields. Number 4. Write all the perfect tense forms of the verb malach and haya. You follow the charts that we have. Include the appropriate subject pronouns. Read each form aloud and translate. Each person should do this exercise on their own. You can use the chart on page 62 that has the form for haya, and the chart in previous chapters for the regular verb malach. Okay, now exercise 5. Read and translate the following verb forms. And here we'll follow the simple line by line exercise. Number 1 of exercise 5. Shamarti, I guarded. Haiti, I was. Asiti, I did or I made. Ra'iti, I saw. Halachti, I went. Zacharti, I remembered. Shamati, I heard. Number 2, shamarta, you masculine guarded. Hayita, you were. Asita, you did, you made. Ra'ita, you saw. Amadta, you stood. Shalachta, you sent. Avarta, you passed. Number 3, shamart, you feminine guarded. Hayit, you feminine were. Asit, you did or made. Ra'it, you saw. Malacht, you ruled. Lakahat, you took. Amart, you said. Number 4, shamar, he guarded. Haya, he was. Asa, he made. Ra'a, he saw. Yashav, he sat. Shama, he heard. Achal, he ate. Zachar, he remembered. Number 5, shamra, she remembered. Haita, she was. Asta, she made. Ra'ata, she saw. Amda, she stood. Lakha, she took. Zachra, she remembered. Number 6, shamarnu, we guarded. Hayinu, we were. Asinu, we made. Ra'inu, we saw. Shalachnu, we sent. Achalnu, we ate. Avarnu, we passed. Number 7, shemartem, you masculine plural guarded. Heyitem, you were. Asitem, you made. Reitem, you saw. Melachtem, you ruled. Amartem, you said. Shem'atem, you heard. And number 8, shamru, they guarded. Hayu, they were. Malchu, they ruled. Asu, they did. Ra'u, they saw. Halchu, they went. Lakhu, they took. Yashvu, they sat or settled. Now we turn to page 66 and we do exercise 6. Write the correct verb form in each sentence below. Read and translate each sentence. Number 1, Ra'a. Ani ra'iti et haderech. I saw the path. B. Ma ata ra'ita hayom. What did you see today? C. At ra'it et ruach et root. You feminine saw root. D. Hu ra'a ne'arot min hamishpacha. He saw young women from the family. E. He ra'ata isha al hashar. She saw a woman on the gate. F. Anachnu ra'inu et David. We saw David. G. Atem reitem et haaretz. You, plural, masculine, saw the land. H. Hem ra'u et Moab. They saw Moab. Number 2, the word is haya. Ha'eved haya babayit. The servant was in the house. Ata hayita ba'ir hayom. You were in the city today. He hayit. One second, let me just check myself. Yes. I'm sorry. That would be at. For she is hayta. He hayta im ha'avadim basadeh. She was with the servants in the field. He, again I'm repeating, he hayta. Hu haya, he hayta. She was with the servants in the field. Di anochi hayiti hamelech b'Moav. I was the king in Moab. I hayu habanot lifnei hasharim. The girls, the daughters were in front of the gates. F anachnu hayinu hana'arim b'Yerushalayim. We were the young men in Jerusalem. And 3, the word is asa. A. Ata asita lechem lifnei ha'am. You made bread in front of the nation. B. Asu hamelachim milchama im ha'anashim miMitzrayim. The kings made war with the men from Egypt. C. Anachnu asinu et hadevarim asher shalachnu. We made the things that we sent. And D. Hayta milchama babayit v'sara aseta mishpat ben ha'av uven habat. There was a battle in the house, and Sarah made judgment between the father and the daughter. And now exercise 7, and that will be the final exercise for today. Read and translate the following sentences. Halachti ben hasharim el ha'ir va'ani hayiti sham ad hayom. Halachti ben hasharim el ha'ir. I went, or I walked between, or among gates. I walked among gates to the city. Vani hayiti sham ad hayom, and I was there until today. Sentence 2. Hayu av uvat babayit. A father and a daughter were in the house. Amra habat el ha'av. The daughter said to the father, Ma shamata ba'ir. What did you hear in the city? Sentence 3. Heitem ba'aretz. You were in the land. Va'atem achaltem et halechem va'atem lekachtem et hadevarim. And you, plural, ate the bread, and you took the things. Exercise 4. Malachti al haaretz min heharim ad hamayim. I ruled over the land from the mountains until the water. Va'anochi asiti mishpat sham. And I did judgment there. Exercise 5. Sentence 5 in exercise 7. Atem asitem et asher amartem. You, plural, did what you said. Va'anachnu lo asinu et asher amarnu. And we did not do that which we said. Sentence 6. Lakachti na'ara li'isha v'hi lo yashva babayit. I took a young woman for a wife, and she did not settle in the house. He halcha baderech min habayit el ha'av. She walked on the path from the house to the father. Velo raiti et hanara ad hayom, and I did not see the young woman until today. Exercise 7. Sentence 7 in exercise 7. Amdu habanim al hahar. The sons stood on the mountain. Vehem sham'u kol, and they heard a voice. Velo ra'u ish, and they did not see a man. They did not see any man. Okay, now we stop on page 67. Next week, Bezat Hashem, we will do exercise 8 and 9, and then we will read a tall tale, a story. From now on, every chapter at the end will have a story that through the story we will practice reading Hebrew and translating it, as well as each story will have some new vocabulary for us to learn. Okay, thank you for listening. Have a great night.